Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Just kind of getting some things dialed in so we can play some guitar this morning. We'll continue our warm-up patterns, our warm-up sessions, and we're starting right now with a very, very steady 60 beats per minute, and that 60 beats per minute is going to guide us through our morning together today. So let's go ahead and get the breath rolling properly. And good morning, Marlon. How are we doing today? I'm also going to start introducing some fingerstyle into this mix. If we have some friends who are fingerstylists here, we also want to include that kind of technical proficiency. All right, so the guitar is a little out of tune. Sorry to miss you yesterday, but I hope you did enjoy the premiere. I saw Marlon already there yesterday. Great to see you there. And we had a pretty busy day yesterday. I do have some plans after part of what I'm planning, what my plan is for today is to get myself together enough to this morning so that I can break from guitaring to make a few improvements here in the studio. So we should have a better, maybe it's noticeable, maybe it's not, but we should have a slightly improved experience tomorrow. But it will be a nice, probably welcome improvement, you know. Just to work on creating a learning environment that we can all enjoy. So what I need to do though is I need to focus on breathing a little bit more this morning. I need to begin with my breath. So the breath is a really important part, as you know. If you've been following along, if I can't dial in my breath, I have a tough time making it through. Probably most of us do. Excuse me. I ate a piece of peanut butter toast for full disclosure this morning. So I'm trying a guitar session without a fast. So I broke the fast, and what I think is going to happen is it will impact the way that this practice goes. So I'm going to, I'll give you some feedback as we go along. I already feel like that process of digestion is beginning. So I think like it will be likely that I continue to fast as we approach morning ritual or morning guitar. For me, morning guitar is part of the morning ritual, and what I do is very slow and steady, and for some of us it's welcome, and others it's like painfully slow, but we are doing this for the span of one full year. I'm working on the process as you've been hanging out here, just checking the tuning on the guitar. So it'll take me a second to just get through this tuning process. There, we found D again. There we go. I'm feeling the G strings a little bit flat. I'm just kind of bringing it up slowly because I don't really want to go over it. I go over it, sometimes there's a little bit of a buildup, like from the oils and such, and the dust in the air, that builds up between the string and the saddle, or the nut. So what happens is, if I occasionally that solidifies overnight, and if I tune the guitar one bit too many, that security will break, and then it will cause the string to jump up in pitch. So then if that happens, which let's say it did, I would just tune way below, beneath where the G string should be, because I want to tune back up to the string, up to the pitch, right? I don't want to ever tune down to the pitch, because I know in the past when I do, if I bend the string, some of that slack that gets introduced when we descend to the pitch, if we do bend the string, that slack will be pulled back to the active part of the string, and it will actually cause out of tune playing, and maybe it could be irritating to have to compensate with your fingers continually, right? But part of that is leaving the guitar slightly out of tune and try to compensate for the rest of a practice. Try to use your ears to pull that string, or push or pull that string into tune. And that would be another, reasonable approach to, honing a deep understanding and a deep skill of the guitar. I mean, it sounds it can sound funny at first, but it's probably not so funny when you start playing around with it, because it does cause us to focus, deeply on each tone. So I think what happens here is going to be, I think we're closing the gap. That low E string with this guitar is hard. It's always been a little bit of a challenge. But as you can see in the comments on the review I did for this guitar, I definitely enjoy the gig bag. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attenuate my right hand. This whole right hand sequence today is dedicated to attenuating I said my right hand, but it's really my picking hand, because some of us I know are lefties. And Anthony, morning, what's going on? Guess I'm switching to the acoustic. Well, you know what? If you want to switch to the acoustic, I think it's, even though this is a whole year long, this whole sequence is 1 year long, basically 5 days a week, live at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will most likely continue through acoustic work, but we will most likely not limit ourselves to only acoustic work. We have some really wonderful electric programming coming during the practice or the warm-up session, where we talk about tone development and tone management, and how dynamics in the right hand and the fretting process, dynamics in the picking hand, sorry, and the fretting process with the left with the fretting hand. Excuse me, is those two things working together in concert is what actually makes the tone on any guitar. So there's absolutely no interface that I know of that is that potentially sensitive. If you're working in AutoCAD, probably, and you've got the two, Kensington wheel mice, and you're just kind of like buried in it, probably all of that fine motor skill and the zooms and that push-pull on those screens, probably you get pretty good at that too, I would think. Video gamer, we're talking about the same very high level stuff. We're talking about the same sort of awareness that we're raising. But that awareness doesn't come through any sort of typical instrument, any sort of, what is it, whether it's electrified or acoustic, whether it's a bamboo shoot with under tension with one single, twine on it, I think, or a box of food, with a rubber band on it. There's you can move that rubber band around. And it really depends on what we want to spend, where we want to spend our time. And so I think what we're going to do today is continue to start with fingers 3 and 4. We do this because I need to work fingers 3 and 4, as you see clearly in the chord chemistry series here on this channel, which is an amazing experience. I wanted to ask you all if you had any sort of preferences, because I'm going to add another sort of live feed, but it's going to be the opposite end of the day. So we're going to open and close the day. I'm not doing it that one will not be every day, but I'm trying to shop for one day, one evening, and per month maybe, per week. And I'm just thinking about it at the moment. I'm thinking that it will be a pretty high value session. So we'll want to know exactly what we'll be working on. And it will likely be, advancing, guitar tips. Not totally sure. I think it will have something to do with Ted Green. But yeah, my fingers and my breathing aren't doing this thing yet this morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some time working on that breath. This is imperative every morning if we forget it. Oh yeah, Anthony, thank you so much for that plug. It is really a magic experience. It's only going to continue to get better. That series we're currently in this live stream, we're on page 21, we're moving on to page 22, and that is, we're just getting together a few chord reference charts. So if we need to dial in an E add 2 or a sus2 sound, we know maybe where we can go find it sort of and refer back to it quickly in our own personal copy of Ted Green's chord chemistry. I would say it's worth spending this whole sequence just practicing quarter notes. But I do have some things I want to get onto today. A couple of new things I wanted to introduce. I do not want to oversaturate our morning routine, but occasionally we will be adding new things. And this is for beginner level, intermediate level, and I've seen like super advanced levels practice using these similar things, these similar sort of reservations that we all hold near and dear. It's definitely a lot to get together. Gig Editor FX, how to find any guitar lead. Yeah, we're going to find some guitar lead for sure today, so stick around. We're finding lead. Every little thing that I do right now is something I want to be able to master this, because if I can master this at a very slow tempo, this third and fourth finger, I'm imagining that this is a solo that I am playing slowed way down, and so maybe it's faster than I normally would play it. Maybe it's not as fast, but I'm imagining that it's a musical experience, and that right there, my friend, is where the rubber meets the road. And there is absolutely no way to substitute that human experience. We can probably get pretty good at synthesizing it, but there is, in my opinion, absolutely no way. So that's what it says sort of at the foot of one of my, I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to do a full body cast or not, but a couple of sculpting artists kind of spreading the Vaseline all over you, and they do it in stages, and it's a fascinating experience. It's a fascinating experience, and what it says underneath that finished product at the foot of that statue is really interesting to me. And the more I think about it over the years, the inscription is like it just becomes more and more important to recite. So it's interesting how that works. So let's take a look at, I'll continue talking about the sculpture in a moment maybe, but it's has something to do with getting the breath right, controlling all of the motions and the moments that you are experiencing while you're practicing. So if we're not doing that, myself included, so I'm wanting to be very careful about the tuning process and then the practicing process, because this is actually how I am going to play the guitar. And if I introduce error here, and if I allow error here, my audience will see the error there. Right. Important stuff, just simple truths, right? That's all we're shopping for right here. We are not going to spend a dime of our time or money, hard-earned money on this channel or anywhere. That's my sort of mantra, unless it improves my something. You know, if it can improve me somehow and it can improve my family, my community, then it's probably worth spending the money on. Or even more important than that, something you cannot replace, is spending the time on. And you can see, right, I see the likes coming in. I really appreciate that. And we're 16 minutes in. Just want to let you know, just in case you have to manage your clock. Just in case you need to be getting somewhere. If you do need to get jumping right now, just remember that over the course of the day, you're exposing yourself to the guitar. You're playing the guitar first thing in the morning, and then you're breathing. So anytime you do that, you can maintain your guitar player stature over the course of the day. If you can, even if you don't have a guitar, but as long as you can remember to breathe. I know some of us, I've played with some horn players that we have those discussions about breath, and then how breath doesn't typically tend to govern the guitar. But if you're a saxophonist, breath is definitely governing your musical phrasing, right? So does that have anything to do with what we're talking about today? So making a solo, if we were actually going to talk about building a guitar solos, like classic guitar solos, we're not talking like classical guitar, classically, the terega, or what. We're not talking about that kind of classical, but that classic sort of like build, the tension and release that builds in American music, and American rock music. So it's, let's take a look. Let's do groupings of 2 and 4 now. It's going to sound a little bit like pentatonic, like pentatonicism, but so you can imagine we'll end up playing the pentatonic scale a little bit later today too, as part of our ongoing series to develop things that we want to develop. And I'm not badgering the high E, the strings much at all with my picking hand, because I don't want the strings to bark at me. So there are, we're going to range between Tool, even though I don't really think consider that like heavy. To me, Tool is just good music. So I'm using fingers 1 and 3 as well. I'm starting a fret up higher than what I normally would, but we're basically going to excuse those extensions. I mean, it costs us a few more seconds, but those will pay out in the long run as long as we can engage and continue to be engaged. That's the whole point of this practice. So as soon as we stop being engaged is when we're no longer practicing. So, but you know that, and we don't do this enough. I think just taking the time to walk through something meaningful. What if I'm walking through a beautiful state park? What's that walk look like? Now I'm working on finger three fingers. That walk looks different for everybody. You know, and it largely depends on your geolocation, your cultural foundation. But for me, I like mountains and I like the sea. So I have we have access to a lot of state parks all through America. Right. Deserts, just amazing stuff going on. State parks. So if you're not bringing your guitar to a state park, wow. I worked closely with a friend for about a year. A good friend, a missed friend. And I'm thinking like ragged shorelines. And that missed friend was a songwriter as well. And he had a full appreciation of what we're doing. He also happened to be the commissioner of a state parks and lands agency. And just amazing opportunities to start talking and developing a program called Arts in the Parks. Don't forget to breathe. You know, Arts in the Parks, what a simple concept, what a simple thing to do. But you know, sometimes it takes a minute for us to think about how to get it started. Do we have anybody willing to carry a torch? You know, those are important things to ask. Because I'm sure there are a number of state parks and national parks across our world, our globe that deserve a little more attention, you know, if they're protected and how they are protected. So that might be good stuff to sing, you know, and write about. Certainly go experience while you're doing it. If you're going to bother sitting here through a live stream session like this and then potentially show up again like, you know, Marlon and oh, gig editor, right? Let's take a quick look. Self-taught guitarist and think I need to learn more theory. I really want to play whatever I hear. Please guide. Oh yeah, good aspirations and great goals. Don't be so worried about your 15. I mean, if you could start, are you just starting now? Hey, Giver, what's going on? How you doing? Good morning. Yeah, so Giver's been right along talking about people who show up and apparently are going to continue to show up for whatever reason. I can't even imagine. But I certainly do appreciate it because it gives me hope and it gives me a pause. It gives me I wanted to say, I want to speak a little bit about, while we wrap up the finger warm-ups. I'm on to 4 fingers now. I'm going to go through the first finger stretch as well, and the 4th finger stretch using the 4 fingers. And you'll notice that I purposefully talk through most of my warm-up. That's number 1. If you show up, Giga Editor, if you show up with your guitar, you can learn everything you need to learn. And what we're trying to do is introduce interesting things to keep us motivated to keep continuing. But we want to also, you know, be here to learn something new, but we also have to do the seat time. You know, just imagine if you were training for Formula One. You know, you don't just get off here. You don't get out of your old Saab 900, your 92 Saab 900 Turbo. Or maybe you do. Maybe that's the life that you built, and then, you know, you are attenuated to the Formula One seat as well. So you know how to jump between the difference in feel and performance and speed and all of those things, because you have practiced all of those mechanisms, right? That you need to do for standard motor vehicle operation, and then expert or race or performance motor vehicle operation. Those are two separate worlds, but within the range of human experience. And today, one of the comments that I wanted to continue talking about and drawing out is the inscription beneath my, whatever you call it, statue or whatever, sculpture, is, here we go. This is going to require more attention than I thought. Bear with me for one moment while I just get through this. I'm just adjusting my body position a little bit because it feels like this stretch is asking a lot. It's a new thing that is asking from my left hand, and then into my entire forearm, into my elbow. You can see my elbow is tracking inward. No, you can't. Here you can. So my elbow is tracking, from a normal playing position to it's getting tucked in a little bit. So I'm trying to be observant of all of those things. Those mechanical differences, I'm trying to memorize those. I always work on memorization. So wherever I am, I want to try to be in the best particular form, like position or posture. We would maybe refer to it as posture. And when we're seated at the Thanksgiving or the Christmas table or the holiday table, whatever you do, we want to sit in a situation of respect for the family and friends around us. If we do have the luxury of meeting with our friends and family, we definitely sit up with good posture as a sign of, personal strength, and we're attenuated into our person. But it also gives a signal of respect to those around us. And then so that sends the signal of respect, and that will cause other signals of respect to bounce back, to reflect back, right? So you're literally an antenna. And, I've heard old timers say that before, but, it's kind of true. Especially when I'm looking at a mirror right now. I'm looking at the screen, and I'm watching my technique and my form in the screen as if it were a mirror. I mean, it's a little laggier than a mirror, but I don't get that, like, in a mirror, I don't perceive any sort of lag. But in this interface, I do. And it's okay to use this interface because it's a resource that's available. But ideally, you would get yourself a large mirror, and then if you're doing like one of those tall mirrors, wardrobe mirrors, if you get those cheap $14 mirrors over at Walmart or whatever the store is, I can send you a link, and maybe you can, support my Amazon affiliate account. If you really are into that stuff, watching that feedback, that immediate feedback, is important. And if you do get a lengthy mirror, just tilt it horizontally so that you can, all of your friends will be like, what are you doing? Why is your mirror sideways, dude, freak? And they'll, maybe call you names, but it's all in good fun and good jest. It's all answers that we can provide. We say, hey, listen, I'm practicing my profession, and in order to maximize my view, what I do is instead of looking at the vertical thing like we're doing now, I'll tilt it sideways, and then I can absorb more longitudinal context, right? So that's an interesting thing to think about. So that's why we do a lot of videos on this channel, Jason Carey Guitar, in wide format, 16:9 or whatever. But I do like exploring this vertical format because it's something else. It's a whole different monster. So it's going great. I've been very productive. I have gotten to practice for 2 hours straight with no interruptions. Woke up at you're already awake? Yeah, good. 3, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, something like that. 4:30 is when I'm sort of moving around, and then I like to get started early because the day just so much can be done in one single day that I want to take full advantage of all of that for sure. Let's go back. Let's just head back to soloing just for a moment because we're sort of warmed up. I had somebody ask yesterday in the, I just want to hit this real quick. We had somebody ask yesterday in the premiere, because I couldn't make it yesterday. I really apologize for not being able to make it, but it was well needed and definitely needed to be done. So thanks for watching the premiere yesterday, and keep our live streak alive. 5 days a week for a year coming right up here for sure. It'll just all be gone in a blink, so don't miss it. But I wanted to make sure that we talk about, I don't practice all the time in major scales. Right, I think sometimes I use that major scale as, let's say a minor scale, like Dorian mode. And that's the same scale that we're using for C major, right? So instead of playing, let's get that metronome right. Gotta tune the guitar, sorry. Can't do that to you. This is all part of the sequence, right? And I like to start early in the morning because everything is about attenuating the self, and you don't have all of the loud. We aren't exposed to 70 plus decibels of sound pressure level over the span of a day, 70 plus, 90, something like that. And we come back and practice the guitar at night for the first time. It's like all of that has been desensitized. When we start first thing in the morning, right, as Giver has experienced probably multiple times, starting early, first thing in the morning, it brings an awareness, it brings a thing that we can't, an experience that we can't replace. It's like birth. It's just reimagining the guitar every new day as a new chance and a new opportunity to do something great. And I definitely believe that for sure. Otherwise I wouldn't be here for, I wouldn't make an obligation to come here 5 days a week, 5 days a week for a year. I wouldn't make that contribution. I mean, I wouldn't try to even, make that if I couldn't, if I wasn't really believing in what was going on here. So what's really going on here is we're working on the self, but we're trying to do it in a harmonious way and constructive way. This is still part of the warm-up, still tuning, still just imagining the guitar. Sounds like the D, G, and B strings are pretty close to in tune. But a lot of our ears were basically attenuated to major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So, do. I know it's that solfege thing, but what if we started it in minor, right? So it would be do, let's call, Dorian mode of the key of G major. Let's say we have 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, which is G, 1, 3, 4, which is up to G, this is G major, and then we're starting there, stopping there. 1, that's fourth finger, 2, 3, 4, that's chord tones now. And I interchange those to keep us all sort of like, oh wait, This is where we would stop for the root note and rest and tonicize our ears if we were playing in the key of G, but we're playing in the key of A now, A minor. Position 2, mode 2 of the major. So mode 2 of the major is what is it called? Anybody know what that is? What is it? Dorian mode. So, well, I think it's important to practice. Giver just says, do you prefer major or minor for the key? So that's a really good thing to ask. It's a really great thing to ask. And why is it a great thing to ask, you say? It's a great thing to ask because I should know if I'm playing in the key of G. Or if I'm playing in the key of A minor. Or if I'm playing in the key of or C Lydian, or D Mixolydian, or A E Mixolydian, E Aeolian, right? There it is. Or F sharp Locan. And we can talk about what these all mean later on, but what we're basically doing is we're able to identify and distinguish the differences between major and minor, and we hang sort of an emotional quality to each one of these, right? So that question from a viewer yesterday really is great because we don't want to add a whole lot of new stuff all the time. But it's brilliant to be aware of why we need to practice between major and minor early on, right? And we certainly want to appreciate the difference. And emotionally, it's basically, we all know it as the difference between happy and sad, right? Basically, happy. I could be Blink 182 doing this. And it's a happy key, right? And they use those octave shapes and that kind of stuff. But it's not like, it's not minor, right? It's just not that feel. So it's not that. It's not like minor. Minor is a completely different skill, a completely different thing. So we have a completely different emotion, basically, to master 7 different times within one major scale. So, no, I definitely don't. To fully answer that question, I guess I could have said, no, I don't practice only major scales. And I recommend we all also practice scales other than major scales. But we continue to go on. Let's take another look at where we were going. I'm just looking at strumming, and practicing the right hand is also a big part of warm-up, because right hand becomes the rhythm hand. And if we can't generate a steady rhythmic pattern, we're in some, I'm not going to say we're not, let's see, how do I say this? We're not optimizing our potential. So if something is out still, maybe it's the A string, there it is. Pretty close, we'll call it good enough for jazz. So we have this really steady right hand pattern. I'm just playing C, and I'm really studying the right hand. I'm studying how can I approach how can I refine that root note of the bass note of the chord? Because sometimes the bass note changes, doesn't it? And it doesn't matter what level player we are, we all know and love and appreciate how this feels. We could be a smoking guitar player and still really enjoy. It can really improve our situation, like rhythmically. So you could start working with just out downstrokes and then practice, like, you know, approaching the changing bass note, but you still are running back with the pick up to the top half of the guitar to continue the strum sound. So meanwhile, we could be moving around underneath that strum patterns with whatever kind of bass line we want. But as soon as I start missing that simple strum pattern, our ears start to miss it. Yeah, they do. Right, so that right hand is a really important thing to develop as well. So what we're doing, just so you know, the reason why I'm here for the next 5 days a week for the rest of the year is to tell you, to express to you that all of the things that I just played are made easy and approachable through the warm-ups that we do every day, right? The exact same warm-ups that we are going to walk through. Not that I'm any you know thing to write home about. You know, you could basically train a monkey to do what I'm doing, and that's how I know if I can do it, you can do it, right? But it does take a little bit of seat time, and it does definitely work. You should do a chord progression is A minor to G6 to F major 7 full bar chord and to an E major. Give her, all right. G6 is basically the regular G chord, just with the open E and B strings. Oh yeah, that's good. And that's the reason why that works is we have a root note for the guitar geeks in the room. We have, thank you very much, Giver. We have a G, a root note, a third, a 5, a root, a 3, and a 6 on the top. And that's a beautiful chord. Yeah, good thinking. Okay, we're going to start with the A minor and then work down through G6 and and then F major 7 full bar chord, sharp 11, and then what I'm going to do, because I'm playing a full bar chord, we're going to use the second, third, and fourth fingers, which are committed to fingering the shape of the chord, and we're just going to descend that. We're going to shift each finger 1 fret down to open E major. So F major 7 sharp 11. You can either bar that first finger. I'm going to remove that first finger and then only play fret 1 on the low E string and use the open B and open high E strings. This is a great chord. Just such a great and practical chord if you can play the bottom, the root 5 octave, and then 3, and then the open 2 strings, which will create a nice drone opportunity. So here we go. So we're using A minor, 3, 4, and then G6, and then F major 7, sharp 11. What do we do with that? I just said to use my last 2 fingers and slide this way. Well, that's an option, but you might feel like you want to actually make the commitment to do a full left or a full fret hand change, right? And if that's what you prefer to do, because you know after that you need to go to an A major 7, or you're changing key, you're doing a key change, which isn't happening a whole lot in American popular music anymore for some reason. We don't do key changes anymore, but we don't modulate. That's kind of an interesting commentary. So we have the A minors, or A minor 7, and then followed by a G6. We're playing an A minor, G6, F major 7, sharp 11, and E chord progression. And then what we're going to do is start working this out with the right hand development, which is an extended part of our warm-up sequence for today. And it's not every day that I'm available, or you'll be available to do extra content or extra, what do you call it, like extra practice, like morning practice. Guitar growth, it's not to be taken lightly. The time that we're spending is got to be investment. So I'm working on investing. I'm going to continue along. If you want to continue along with me this morning, you're more than welcome to. I know I'm running over, we're at 50 minutes, and then these are typically designed to be half an hour at a time, right? And so most of us don't have the luxury to do this every day, right? And if we do have the luxury to do it every day, then it's important that we fully are aware and fully appreciate that for what it is, because it's a remarkable gift not to have, but to receive continually. And how do we renew that every day? How do we make it work for ourselves? Let's say I'm a 15-year-old guitar player just starting out, self-taught. And then what everybody says around me, they're going to say, that's great. You have a few different ranges of exposure to that. So there's one exposure is that you are received in celebration, celebrated. Another reception of that is, well, what do you think you're going to do to pay your bills? And then the other one is, that's just flat out a horrible idea. And then all of those are parts of, I'm not talking about anything that's not reality here. I'm not saying it's good or bad, because each reception can be turned into good or bad by the way we use it, right? So let's say it's received with celebration and oh, Jason, you're going to be the guitar world savior, and everything that you do will all be to fix the world that you live in. And then, what do I, if you were to hear that, if you were to be raised thinking that your music is a gift that is to be shared, then what do you do about it? Do you celebrate that moment? Do you forget about it and do something else? Is either decision or any decision you make right or wrong? Is it hurting somebody, yourself or somebody? These are all things that we eventually think about. And it's not just a you thing, it's not just a me thing, it's from, years of tutoring guitar players from communities locally in real time. And we all have human concerns about what it is we're doing here, right? And part of what that inscription is on that statue is, as computers become more and more perfect, it becomes even more important for the imperfection of man to exist, right? So I think there's no substitution for what we do. And it's about sharing the human experience. If you're writing songs about whatever it is you're writing about, state parks, if you write any songs about state parks, if you want to share those, let me know, and I'll see if Scott can take a look at the lyrics, because he's just a wonderful, wonderful songwriter. And if you're writing songs about state parks, I can almost guarantee he'll want to see the lyrics and help out. So. Oh yeah. All right, I'll check them out. Anthony, you got a band that you just shared with us? Yeah, thank you very much. Now what we can do is start to busy up the right hand. And this progression is pretty cool. You could practice on this progression for an hour, and once it gets, kind of baked in, and it's there, and it can run in real time behind what you're starting to think about doing over the top of it while you're running your looper in your mind and staying in time, because we're using a metronome. That's a great combination of chords. It's a great chord progression because it gives you a whole narrative storyline to just explore, right? And this is another great way to know that you're fully warmed up. So let's see how this goes. I'm going to continue along with some modulations here and some modifications and some tribulations, and anybody got any other way to finish it up? I love this chord progression. What do you guys think? Is it a good chord progression, something that you can work with? Because if it is, I'll get a backing track available for you, and then you can download it for free, right? Very simple. But if it's something you want a copy of, and it will run through a professional, studio recorded backing track of this, just kind of giving you a creative bed upon which to build your guitar solo story in the morning after you're warmed up. This is another great opportunity. So I got to thank Giver. That's just a wonderful idea, because we are here to grow guitar community. We are 5 days a week, 5 days a week, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then what we're trying to do is just build the guitar community of that's associated with reality, like the human condition, the way we actually grow and build our relationship with an acoustic, electric, or any of those kinds of stringed instruments that we're approaching. So let's say I saw a couple questions come in. What tips do you have for older beginners to become proficient on the guitar? Marlon, that's a great question. Let's talk about that while we explore this chord progression a little more and some solo opportunities. Denim Dennis, sounds great. Thank you. And let's see. Yeah, I was thinking of a couple chords, and that's what I came up with. Giver, that's great. It's it gives us that E when you reach the end of the progression. It sounds like, flamenco to me, or 4 and then 1, but it gives us that harmonic minor too to really explore. So now I think Giver knows what he was recommending, what he was asking. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a backing track for this together, and I'm going to ship it to you guys. We'll get it out. I'll have the team will put it together. and then we'll get it out. I'll put it on the a link in the community links, right? On the community tab on our page here at Jason Carey Guitar. All right, so let's try developing the right hand a little bit, right? This kind of picking is surgical. This kind of picking is definitely, it's very sporty. So it's alternating, right? It's sort of like what a finger stylist would do with a thumb, index, middle, and rings. Revert, forward roll into a reverse roll. And if you're a finger style player, you know what I'm talking about. We'll get into that stuff a little later on, but right now we're just using pick style guitar. So it's just a simple down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, as we forward roll through the layout of the A minor triad here in open position. Then I should observe the G string, since we're going to G6. As a musician, a guitar player, I know that I should observe the root and the fifth, but I also need to hear that 6 because I want to infer that it's a 6 chord, an add 6 or a major 6 chord. So I could start just on the D string, so and use that same sort of forward into reverse roll. But it's all careful work. This is like developing the hands of a surgeon. So this is not something that happens overnight, and it requires a tremendous amount of breathing skill, right? To even contemplate such an object, right? So it's not one of those things for the faint at heart, but it is for every age, because every age needs to play at least one ballad, I would think, right? Anybody have any favorite ballads? Any favorite ballads? I think I have a couple. And The Still of the Night by Whitesnake, that's a pretty cool ballad. Maybe that's not what we're talking about. The F major 7 sharp 11 is forward roll, and then the same thing we're working through F, octave, D, G, B, and high E strings, right? Yeah, so F, D, F, up, down, down, and then that's 1, 3, 4, 2, open and open. So that's basically what's going on. It's pretty much surgery for the pick hand. Almost got it. Oh, there it is. So that's an interesting flavor to introduce here, right? What is that? So it just occurred to me that we're working on this, the 5, but it's a secondary dominant, or it's the 5 of 1 minor, which adds the leading tone, right, for harmonic minor. So we have this nice, let's change that to E so we can just see what it's like. Let's modulate this, or change the key to the key of E. That way we can use open strings, drone strings for every one of these chords in the pattern. And how does this impact what we're after here today? We can just use really great simple arpeggios to just kind of we'd obviously have to use a 7 arpeggio if we're going to express the 7th of that chord, but here we could use it minor. But we could also just use root notes. Just go up to the octave with that 4th finger stretch. We may as well, we're all prepared for it, right? Because we've already come through that warm-up cycle, that warm-up process, which makes us sort of aware and able to perform these really sort of otherwise unobtainable stretches with the guitar. So these warm-up cycles are super, super important. Suspended, yeah, all right. Yeah, so now, I mean, we're basically talking about suspended use of absent of many 3s, right? Absence of major or minor. So what do we do when we solo over that, right? So the simple act of modulating from the key of A minor to the key of E minor gives us more open strings. But we're looking for really of E minor pentatonic, but it's not a minor pentatonic because there's no major 3rd, minor 3rd. So how would we handle that? Let's use one of those suspended pentatonic shapes. And we're just introducing something new today, only because it just came up. That's still, man, that's still got a 3 in it. No, that's not it. That's it. Yeah, it is, isn't it? So we're using the F sharp minor pentatonic, right? But we're using, we're going to use the E note as the root note. So it's going to be a little bit of a chore just getting used to that. So we're using this really cool chord progression that's engulfed in the nature of suspension. Strum patterns can be so simple too, as long as they're like effective. Maybe instead of raining up, on the last time around we'll rain down. It's all downstrokes, just really control descend or ascend through the string set. That's right, we were going to do the rain down because it has a completely different musical feel. And each pattern creates a different feel, right? So we have this. da 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 da. But if you wanted to start to articulate the string in a direction, remember how we said there was an ascending roll and a descending roll? So if you do this, a secondary upstroke, would you agree that it sounds different than this? I think it does. So then what we've got this chord progression going in the background in our minds. I'll generate a few backing tracks for us today. We have not getting to that 3 yet, because as soon as we hit that 3, it's going to be like a huge release for the audience. So if you're playing live guitar and live solos in a band that understands how to generate suspension, then you're in a good space. And just remember to try to be thankful for your daily existence. So Creedence Clearwater Revival, yeah, all right. So let's see if we can do what we were doing here. Oh, that's what we're going to do. We'll use the open high E and B strings. And then we'll go down to, and then, there we go. How are we going to finger that? Let's see. So we need to do this way. And then we've got to get to an E note. Okay, all right, so we can use the open high E. So, oh, that's not it. I think I got a better finger solution for that, right? It almost sounds like Rasta, right? Do that thumb pattern. Let me clean that up though. what you're going to see what I would do if I need to clean it up. I need to clean up a lot of things, right? So I'm going to slide through that B chord with a thumb in the bass, and I'm just going to continue with the up, down, up, right, alternate picking. And then when I get to that A chord, I'm going to add the 6, right? Which we talked about earlier with guitarist chord progression. Now I need to get back here, and then instead of using that rhythmic pattern in the chord, I'm going to finish out the melody like that, just to give it a nice strong finish. So there it is. So we've got that really nice, thanks for recommending that song, John. It's a great song and we can use it as a vehicle. So I was experimenting. You could do the D major form for the E major and just slide it up 2 frets. So the D major form for the E major, the D major form for the E major, just slide it up 2 frets. Oh yeah, is that that's what you're talking about? So there's this really nice, oh yeah, because it really opens up the open position of the guitar, right? And you can use that minor pentatonic behind you to really sort of add your own kind of customized grid. But I think we're just getting ready to wrap for the day. You could turn that tune into so many different jams. What a great song. That song has just obviously lived for so long because of its sheer greatness. So yeah, it's a thanks Pickle. It's a Martin DX2E, or I think I got the order right. And it could be any guitar. I think on one of the upcoming series sequences here, I'm just going to use my old Harmony Stella. And we're still going to $50 guitar. We're still going to talk the same language we've been talking. It'll just sound different. And we're going to make accommodations in real time for how to deal with a quote unquote cheap guitar. And then still finesse or, caress good quality tone from it. I think that's another win for us coming up, But if you're not already doing it, certainly do appreciate the like, share, subscribe, and then dinging the bell of the channel, because if you do that, apparently you see more of these, you get notified for the live streams and that kind of stuff. So if you wanted to join us every morning, 5 days a week at 7:30 a.m. for 1/2 hour, I am running way over today and I totally apologize. I'm getting ready to wrap it up now, unless we have any final questions. Might be a good might be a really good time to do that now. But we are getting ready to make a few. We're signing off for today here. Going to run over to TikTok for a few minutes, say hi, and then I've got to do a few upgrades here in the studio. So you'll see some differences tomorrow. You should notice something different. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll get my hair cut or something, you know. It's so good to have an outlet here where we can. I was talking with my my wife yesterday, and she's like, you know, you're accomplishing what you've always wanted to accomplish, even when we started the conservatory and stuff. And it was like, you know, we're literally able to do the community building at the surgical level we want to do the community building at right here, right now, through the guitar, the craft of the guitar. And to have you here with me, it's an amazing experience. It literally is an amazing experience. I'm ready to come down every morning and get in the shop, get in the studio, and get my warm-up fingers going and hang out with you for sure. So definitely coolest grandpa. Yeah, Yuda, what's going on? Good morning, everybody, and I really appreciate you coming by. I'm going to stop blabbing for the day because I think we're there. Any last minute questions, or anybody want to smash the like button to get us over 20 for this session? That would be helpful. That'd be great. I can hang on for a couple seconds if you want. I see another comment, so I'll wait. If you all want to grab and go after that like button like it's a steak on fire. So can you recommend me some songs to learn? Please. I'm bored of playing all the boring songs with the same open chords. I want some challenge, but I'm not that good for okay, something very hard. So I think, do you listen to Steely Dan? Do you listen to the band Steely Dan? They make it sound super easy. And some of the chords, it's likely you know some of the chords, but rhythmically it's going to be challenging. The whole thing is going to be challenging, but it will be rewarding. So if you have any interest there's an album called Aja that's AJA that's really good. You could check out any track from that record and bring those back. We could start talking in that direction. We're going to continue on with the acoustic guitar for the remainder of the week. We've got the flat picking transposition or arrangement of Silver Bells up and ready for download, so you can find that. And we have there's another one. We're also working on Let It Be. That's right. So we have a really cool guitar arrangement, wild and fantastical guitar arrangement of that coming. And thanks to you, because we're here talking about these pieces and putting them together. So if you're here and you want to give us a like, get us up to 30. We're getting ready to jump. I hate to say it, but I really do welcome you. I see you again tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the same warm-up. And if you're here, if you're a guitar player, please share it with your friends if you think they can benefit as well, and also contribute to the community here. We have a community that is very attentive and engaged and asking questions, and then we have a lot of these players that they're commenting here, they're hanging out here. A lot of these people are talented and experienced guitarists and are here talking about it. The Giver's here, he's asking a lot of helpful questions and definitely appreciate it. And he says, see you tomorrow. So 7:30 in the morning tomorrow. The plan is to run half an hour, and I can't say I won't run over, but I'm really going to be cognizant of your time. And until we meet again tomorrow, I wanted to wish you happy picking, okay? Thanks again for coming, and don't hesitate with questions in the comments. Out for now.